I didn't believe it the first time I saw it. It wasn't some flashy tournament stage. No cameras, no crowd. It's two guys on a quiet stretch of river, and one of them absolutely wrecking the bite. Same depth, same current, same time of day. But every 10 minutes, his rod bent, and mine didn't. Now, I fished long enough to know when someone just gets lucky. This wasn't luck. He wasn't casting farther. He wasn't using better gear. He wasn't even changing spots. He was doing something small. So small, I almost missed it. Every time before casting, he'd take the worm off the hook, dip it into a tiny plastic container, wipe it lightly between his fingers, okay, and then hook it back on. That's it. It's no fancy attractant bottle, no big brand label. It's a small container with a yellow paste inside. I finally asked him straight up, "What are you putting on that worm?" He smiled like he'd been asked that question 100 times before. "Old school trick," he said. Most people forgot about it. It was mustard. Plain yellow mustard. And before you laugh, I did too. But then I watched what happened underwater. The first thing I noticed wasn't more bites, was faster bites. Instead of fish slowly mouthing the bait, they were committing. Short hesitation, then pressure, then hook set. There's a difference between curiosity bites and feeding bites. Was feeding. We ended that afternoon with a number gap that didn't make sense. He had 14, I had 3, and we were fishing 10 feet apart. Now, here's where it gets interesting. He didn't soak the worm. He didn't coat it thick. He didn't leave clumps on it. He used just enough to leave a faint scent trail. That detail matters, because fish don't react well to overpowering smells. They react to signals. And mustard gives off one. Mustard seeds contain natural oils. Those oils release sharp compounds when diluted in water. To us, it smells strong and spicy. Out to fish, it resembles biological activity. When small aquatic creatures are injured or disturbed, they release trace chemical signals into the water. Predatory species evolved to respond to those signals quickly. Means opportunity. The mustard doesn't attract fish like a magnet. It triggers investigation, and when paired with a moving worm, it becomes convincing. That day changed how I thought about scent. But here's the part people don't talk about. The trick isn't about mustard alone. It's about preparation. He didn't just squeeze it straight from a bottle. He mixed it. 1 spoon of mustard, a half cup of water, stirred until thin. That's important. Straight mustard is too thick, too concentrated. It clumps. It overwhelms. Diluted mustard disperses naturally. It creates a soft, expanding trail instead of a heavy scent cloud. The worm absorbs just enough to carry it, nothing more. He dipped the worm for about 3 seconds, shake off excess, hook it carefully so it still moved naturally, and then cast. That movement, combined with faint chemical trace, that's what made the difference. But here's why some tournaments don't like it. It's not because it's dangerous, not because it's illegal, because it changes the playing field. Some competitions limit external scent modifications, and while mustard isn't synthetic, it still qualifies as a bait alteration. Some local events quietly added rules after noticing unusually high catch rates from anglers using kitchen-based additives. No public announcements, just wording changes. Now, let's talk about results beyond that one day. I tested it myself the following week. Same river system, different weather, more pressure from other anglers. First session, modest improvement. Second session, noticeable. Third session, consistent edge. Not miracle numbers. Not double the fish, but a clear advantage in slow conditions, especially when water temperature was slightly cooler and fish were less aggressive. That's when scent matters most. In warm, aggressive feeding windows, it helps. In tough bite situations, it matters. But here's the warning. If you use too much, you ruin it. The water becomes saturated. The scent feels unnatural. Fish approach but hesitate. The key is restraint. Just enough to create curiosity, not enough to alarm. And there's one more factor most people miss: freshness. If your mustard mix sits open for weeks, it loses edge. If it separates, remix it. If it smells weak, refresh it. Simple ingredients, but attention to detail makes the difference. This trick isn't flashy. It won't make you famous. It won't turn every day into a record breaker. It will quietly give you a percentage edge. And fishing is a game of percentages. The anglers who understand small variables win more often. The next time you head out, bring a small container. Mix it fresh. Use it lightly. Watch the reaction, okay? Pay attention not just to bites, but to how fish approach. Because once you see that difference, you won't unsee it. Okay, before you run to the kitchen, there's something important you need to understand. This trick works, but it doesn't work everywhere. And the difference between success and disappointment usually comes down to three things most anglers ignore: water temperature, fish species, and pressure. Let's start with temperature. A stirred-based scent disperses differently in cold water, okay? In warmer water, scent spreads faster and farther because molecules move more freely. Hey, that creates a broader trail. In cold water, dispersion slows down. The scent stays tighter, more concentrated around the bait. It can actually be an advantage, but only if fish are already holding nearby. In early spring or late fall, when fish are sluggish and not chasing aggressively, that small chemical signal can trigger a reaction they wouldn't normally give to plain bait. But in extremely hot water, sometimes the trick becomes unnecessary. When fish are actively feeding, scent plays a smaller role compared to presentation and location. That's why some anglers try it once in peak summer, see no major difference, and dismiss it completely. Wrong timing. Now, let's talk species. Catfish respond strongly. Respond consistently. Bluegill show curiosity, but are more sensitive to concentration. Bass, more situational. Predatory fish like bass rely heavily on movement and visual cues. Scent can help, especially in stained water, but it won't override poor presentation. Bottom feeders, on the other hand, rely much more on chemical detection. That's where this trick shines. If you're fishing murky water with limited visibility, scent becomes a bigger factor. Clear water with high fishing pressure, subtlety becomes everything, which brings us to pressure. The more a body of water gets fished, the more cautious fish become. They've seen hooks, they've felt resistance, it's been released. High pressure lakes, heavy artificial scents can sometimes raise suspicion. That's why dilution matters. A faint, natural smelling trace works better than a strong, artificial blast. Mustard works best when it whispers. Now, let's talk about the most common mistake that ruins this trick completely: overcoating. If your worm looks yellow, you've already used too much. If it drips, you've used too much. If the water surface forms visible oil streaks, you've definitely used too much. The correct amount should be almost invisible. You should smell it slightly on your fingers, not overpowering. Think of it like seasoning food. A pinch enhances. A handful destroys. Another mistake: letting the worm sit too long after dipping. Okay, if you coat it and leave it exposed for 10 to 15 minutes before casting, the scent weakens. Fresh application right before casting makes the biggest difference. There's also a subtle upgrade some old-timers use, and it's simple. Time. If you mix mustard and water and let it sit overnight in a loosely covered container, something interesting happens. The sharpness mellows slightly, and the scent becomes more rounded. Not stronger, just smoother. That smoother scent tends to hold in water longer without overwhelming, okay? But again, don't overthink it. This trick isn't magic, it's leverage. And leverage works best when everything else is already solid. Location still matters more. Presentation still matters more. Okay? Sharpness still matters more. This is not a replacement for fundamentals. It's an edge. An edge is stack. Now, let's address the ban part. No, there's no nationwide law against mustard. But some competitive events Limit externally applied scent enhancers, because once one angler starts using something effective, everyone else must follow, and competitions aim to reduce variables. Kitchen-based additives create inconsistency in enforcement. That's why some local tournaments quietly added wording about unmodified natural bait. It wasn't about mustard specifically, it was about control. And when something simple shifts performance noticeably, it tends to draw attention. But here's the bigger lesson. The reason this trick feels powerful isn't because mustard is special. It's because small variables matter more than most anglers think. Tiny scent differences, tiny presentation differences, tiny timing differences. Fishing isn't about massive breakthroughs. It's about stacking small advantages until they become obvious. Most people chase expensive solutions. New rods, new reels, new lures, new scents. But sometimes the advantage is already in your kitchen. Simple, cheap, effective. If you decide to try this, keep it light. Test one rod with it. Keep another plain. Pay attention to strike speed, not just total numbers. Watch how fish commit. That's where the real difference shows, okay? And if it works on your water, you've just added another quiet edge to your system. Fishing isn't luck, it's awareness. Next time you head out, ask yourself one question before you cast. Are you giving fish a reason to choose your bait over everything else in that water? Sometimes that reason is as small as a faint yellow trace on a moving worm. See you on the next one.